Good morning, Caye Caulker. As I worked on sewing projects, I had a visitor come to the boat. She wasn't the most beautiful butterfly, but she really wanted to stay. Unfortunately, I scared her each time I got close to take a picture. But with a little patience, I finally saw her well enough to identify her. She's a black witch moth, known as the harbinger of death in Central America. Great. As if the black witch moth was an omen, one of those dreaded northers came rolling in that afternoon. It was amazing. Everything was calm. Then the boat started to turn and bam, we were hit on the side with a wall of wind somewhere around 30 knots. Fortunately, Dave had returned from kiteboarding already, and we hoped it was a passing squall. No such luck. The wind only got stronger, and it came from the northwest, so the boats were completely vulnerable. One boat dragged, and then another, and another. In all, 8 boats dragged, with 2 wrapping anchor chains, and 1 going aground. Wave height never shows up on video, but it was rough, and our depth readings were going nuts. We anchored in 7 feet of water and never hit the bottom. Our wind generator is not taking 40 knots well. Wow, a lot of the boats aren't either. There's a lot of people dragging. We saw 48 knots, but our friends on Sandy Feet saw a max of 97 knots north of us near Cozumel, Mexico. Holy crap! It was a long, tough night of boat rescues for Dave, out there in the dinghy in the dark in that mess. And for me, sitting at the helm to take pressure off the anchor, or just to be ready in case we broke free, and worrying about Dave's safety. Some boats didn't get re-anchored until really late at night. When the wind calmed to 27 knots or so, we crashed in bed, sleeping with half an ear listening and feeling the motion of the boat for any change. Wow, right in front of our boat. The anchorage in Caye Caulker is a busy one, with so much barge traffic. It makes sense, since everything has to be brought into the island by sea. But it is still shocking to see huge barges pushed by tugs carrying all sorts of loads, passing right next to your boat. The anchorage is shallow, so they just plow their way through. Dive boats and other tour boats frequent the anchorage, mostly in search of the manatees. There are also frequent ferries moving quite fast, a good reason to keep a light on your dinghy as you return to your boat at night. The sunsets in Caye Caulker are famous, and this is the view from Maggie's Sunset Grill. The sunrises are beautiful too. And on this morning, the male black witch moth paid a visit. No storm or deaths followed that visit, though. Phew! Touring around the anchorage, you may see Surprise, a local sailboat, or a wrecked boat or two. More nighttime obstacles to watch for. You may even see a good friend. I like to chill out with a limonada de coco and soak it all in. Every night we watch for a green flash. Have you heard of the phenomenon? It is one of the most debated topics among cruisers. Did you see that last light turn green? Sometimes there's a sort of green halo effect that happens by it. But the green flash does not flash across the horizon. The lazy lizard is our hangout, mostly because that's where the kiteboarding is. Same with me. I want to see if this guy does a flip. But it is also fun to go people watch. Some people love the attention. Yep.
upside down camera.
The cruise ship tourists really get packed in. Oh, and the lazy lizard has delicious lobster nuggets. But it always comes back to the sunsets, a Caye Caulker tradition. And the full moon is always accompanied by a big party, or so we're told. We're too old and too tired to attend, so you'll have to see that for yourself. Poor Dave and Francois worked on the generator as I headed out with friends to investigate the snorkeling scene before our guests started arriving.
Life jackets, right? Nah, mainly we try to take the same life jackets that we normally put around your neck, but instead of putting it around your neck, we're going to put it around your waist, right? So it actually serves as a little floating, right? So then again, whenever you feel like you're getting tired, you could just simply relax a bit, float around, and trust me, salt water being so buoyant with the salt tolerance, you're definitely going to stay afloat.
It started out promising, with a huge ray in the first couple of minutes. The islands and water have been inundated with sargassum. Greg swims like a fish and can go under a lot of it, but it just gets stuck in my hair. Our guide was also very comfortable underwater. I wish I could do that. But in the buoyancy of salt water, I make a really good bobber, or buoy. Our guide called a green moray eel by clapping, then dove under as the eel came up to greet him. I wasn't ready and only got the end on the GoPro. And the beginning on the dive camera. Wow, incredible! We also saw a small sea turtle. I almost missed it looking for some live coral. The schools of blue tangs are fun to watch. They attack one area en masse and then move on to the next. I see a hogfish, but Dave would see lunch. They are good eating. I came across another enormous ray. I wish I could demonstrate scale, because as big as the ray was, it meant the permit, the fish following it around, was quite a large fish. Permit are considered sport fish for catch and release and are not good eating. Living symbiotically, the permit hangs around waiting for the ray to stir up the sand, then snatches up food rousted from hiding. This dog snapper was looking for handouts. Did you notice all the coral so far? After hearing about the excellence of the barrier reef in Belize most of my life, I must say I was very disappointed. I am at least 10 years too late to see it in all its glory. Caroline and I later discussed how spoiled we are to have seen such wonderful coral in other locations like Bonaire and Roatan. But the truth of the matter is that this once beautiful coral reef is dead. Some life springs from the death in colorful patches, but so much of it just felt like a coral graveyard. I'll not use this platform to go into my thoughts on the causes, but the devastation has to be recognized. Our second snorkel was not about coral. It was at Shark and Ray Alley. It's a fun, touristy thing to do. Anyone who has a problem with the tour boats feeding these animals should not go. But if you do, you'll learn the history of the relationship of these animals to the fishermen and how Shark and Ray Alley came to be. It occurred out of happenstance as the fishermen cleaned and sorted their catch. Now the tour boats just continue to attract the animals that already follow boats around hoping for easy meals. So many nurse sharks, stingrays, fish, and even the occasional cormorant gather in excitement. It's very impressive to see. I had to shuffle my feet as rays rubbed along my legs and feet. I was in no danger, as long as I didn't accidentally step on one. That was a lesson our friend's son learned for all of us. A ray stung his foot out of self-defense, causing him convulsing pain. The sharks weren't interested in me at all. But a large ray seemed to claim me as its own, chasing others away. Yeah, that was a little freaky. There's no doubt when the food stops coming. They all head for the next tour boat, arriving with a fresh supply of sardines. Don't tell the sharks, but our guides reserve some sardines for the birds. If you hold it, they will come. We tried this on our boat later, but they only look at tour and fishing boats. Magnificent frigate birds took sardines right out of our hands. It happened so quick, so I slowed the video way down. I think our reaction says it all. Next, we stopped at Iguana Reef Inn, where they strung ropes to encourage seahorses to stay. I also found some at our dinghy dock. Seahorses are not strong swimmers and cannot escape predators. So seeing the back of a seahorse is its defense mechanism. From the back, it looks like any old blade of grass. Every time I tried to go around it, it just turned along with me. Seahorses use fins sort of like fish do, but their fins are tiny and located on the sides of their heads. Due to their maneuverability restrictions, they like slow, protected water with plants and things to grip onto. This is where a grid of ropes under the water comes in, as handholds, so to speak. I found this lovey-dovey looking couple that I was mesmerized by. I could sit and watch them all day, but I'll spare you and edit down the footage some. But you just have to see how adorable they are with each other. Pelicans have learned to follow, or even ride on, the tour boats. They know the tourists have sardines, and they hope for fallout, or a kind handout. However, this jerk mistook my iPhone for a sardine and tried to swallow my whole hand. Shocked, I yanked my hand out of its closed beak, ripping the skin on the back of my hand with what felt like rough sandpaper. Luckily, it wasn't deep, so I sanitized it and it healed in a week or two.
You just bit my hand.
Apparently, I hit slow motion when I pulled my hand out. That's probably a good thing, because I can certainly swear like a sailor.